Two of America's biggest computer companies have merged, forming the first serious rival for years to take on the software giant Microsoft. One household name in the internet world, America Online, has taken over another, Netscape, in a deal worth almost £2.5 billion. A third company, Sun Microsystems, will help take the new firm into the increasingly popular world of online shopping.
The news of an imminent merger between America Online and Netscape Communications has created great excitement from Silicon Valley to Wall Street, where internet stocks have been rising again today. America Online says the move will turbocharge e-commerce, in other words, create a huge expansion of shopping activity on the internet. Experts agree, saying that AOL could have found a perfect match.
It has 14 million potential customers for all sorts of things like cars, records, CDs, books, anything that you want to buy over the internet. Netscape, on the other hand, has made a living for itself selling software to businesses that want to serve the internet. So you have a coming together of customers and traders in a very powerful way.
But this vision of a worldwide marketplace focused on glossy adverts, online ordering and screen-to-home deliveries isn't for everybody. For some, the domination of the World Wide Web by a few big players is an appalling prospect.
If you like the whole world to look like American Online and Microsoft Network, I guess this is good news. But if you think that if you have a different vision for the internet, one that's not chock full of advertisements and commercialism and things like that, and where the user has more control over their navigation, then this is a terrible merger.
What's certain is that the deal will change the landscape for the industry giant, the Microsoft Corporation. Its billionaire chairman, Bill Gates, is currently having to defend himself in the courts against accusations that he's stifled competition. But his lawyers say today's news proves their rivals are in good shape. Whatever this means for Microsoft, the merger will represent a substantial business boost for America Online and a new lease of life for Netscape. Together, it's estimated they'll be able to reach 70% of internet users. Philippa Thomas, BBC News, Washington.
England's cricketers were spared a possible defeat in the opening test in Australia, the weather coming to their rescue. A tropical storm struck with England on 179 for 6, and Australia needing just 4 wickets to win. The match was abandoned and ended as a draw. And football, both Liverpool and Rangers were playing the first leg of their third-round games in the UEFA Cup tonight. At Ibrox, Rangers came from behind to draw 1-1 with the Italian side Parma, while Liverpool took the lead against Celta Vigo in Spain, but lost 3-1.
This was the fastest sellout for any match at Ibrox Park, but after Rangers' humiliation at the hands of Celtic at the weekend, restoring confidence was always going to be difficult against classy Italian opposition. Despite their early domination, it took Parma until the second half to take the lead, Balbo collecting the rebound for a vital away goal. Rangers equalised against the run of play after 69 minutes through Rod Wallace, but it may not be enough with an awkward second leg still to come. In northern Spain, Liverpool took on the conquerors of Aston Villa in the last round, Celta Vigo. After a hesitant start, Michael Owen made up for an earlier miss with the kind of quality goal that's become his trademark. But 3 second-half goals emphasised Celta Vigo's skills up front and exposed Liverpool's defensive frailties. The third goal came right on the final whistle after a terrible mix-up and wasted all Liverpool's hard work in the first period. Paul Newman, BBC News.
Finally, back to the main news. The Queen's speech to Parliament laying out the government's plans, which include removing the right of hereditary peers to vote and indeed sit in the House of Lords. I'm joined by our political editor, Robin Oakley. Robin, if these doomed peers, and there are a lot of them, wanted to be the awkward squad, how much could they sabotage or seriously delay large parts of the government's programme?
Well, I think the government certainly have worries there. The opposition leadership are conscious of the convention, which says the House of Lords should not deny an elected government something which has been a manifesto promise, as this reform of the Lords is. But a lot of Tory peers are taking the view that since there's not a worked-out scheme about how they should be replaced when they've lost their rights, that the government haven't even named yet the commission which is going to work on the scheme which might replace them, they're not very satisfied with that, and they feel that gives them the right to go on opposing. Some of them have said they'll go in for real parliamentary hooliganism. And the government's problem, partly, is that if it puts the legislation into the Lords too early in the parliamentary year, a lot of its other bills could get held up. On the other hand, if it doesn't have a second reading in the Commons quite early and takes the view that the Lords are going to stop this over the whole year, and they want next year to use the special procedure, which means that they can get it through without the consent of the Lords, that has to be a year after the second reading in the Commons. So it's a very complicated decision for the government on the tactics.
Now, here we saw today Tony Blair riding high in the polls, and William Hague still trying to make that breakthrough with the public. Did their performances in the House reflect the position they're in?
Very interesting contrast, because William Hague still has trouble engaging in the country, boosting his party in the opinion polls. He's a very good performer in the House of Commons, and today, for my money, he put up his best performance yet. Very effective attack on the government. Even the Prime Minister admitted it was full of good jokes, sharp one-liners saying the unions pay the government bills, the government passes the unions bills, things like that. He had John Prescott looking pretty uncomfortable, attacking him. Tony Blair, by contrast, made a rather dull speech, I think probably quite deliberately, trying to show the sort of responsibilities of government. But he can't go on forever dismissing it when Mr. Hague has a good performance by saying it's just a sixth form debating performance. Really, the Tories' weakness, though, is that they don't at this stage have the alternative policies to put forward, and Mr. Blair can always fall back on that accusation.
Robin Oakley, thank you very much. And that's all from the BBC Newsroom tonight. Good night.
Fog is the main problem for travellers across England and Wales through tonight and also into tomorrow. Already quite widespread, it's going to thicken up further through the rest of the night with visibilities of less than 50 metres in places, and that fog could well linger all the way through the day in some areas tomorrow. The worst affected areas from North Yorkshire down through Lancashire, through the Midlands, into Lincolnshire, all the way down through Wales and into southwest England. That's where the fog's going to become thickest, I think, through the night. Still, there's some cloud in the southeast, though, patchy rain, perhaps even the odd flake of snow over the South Downs, the main area of snow, though, across the Scottish Highland, and some fairly heavy showers here coming in from the west. Not just fog, but also ice, potentially a problem through these more central areas, rather milder, though, further across towards the west, and it looks like turning mild in all areas over the next 2 or 3 nights. Frost becoming a thing of the past, at least for a little while, particularly through the latter part of the week and into the weekend, but overnight frost returning eventually to go through into the early part of next week. Very changeable weather at the moment then, these weather systems coming in out of the Atlantic, but at least coming in from that direction, we do start to get that milder air pushing across. They will bring, though, some rain from time to time as those fronts push in across northwestern parts of the British Isles particularly. And it's in the northwest that we'll see the heaviest rain again during tomorrow, some fairly hefty showers for western Scotland, 1 or 2 showers across western parts of England and Wales as well. But really that fog's still the main problem right the way through the morning, the odd patch even lingering through into the afternoon, particularly through Lincolnshire and East Anglia, by then so the cloud having moved away from the southeast. Actually quite a bit milder in the southeast, I think, than it has been over the last 2 or 3 days, around about 8 or 9 degrees. Bit chilly though where that fog lingers on, the mildest weather in the west, 10 or 11 for western parts of Wales and the West Country. Similar temperatures through into Thursday in these areas. Quite a nice day in the south. We're going to see cloud and rain though pushing in to these more western areas through the course of the day. Perhaps a drier spell for a time across Scotland. Then a big change as we go through towards the end of the week. Look at those temperatures, 14 or 15 degrees. Something to look forward to there. Bye-bye.
Julie Hill is paralysed from the waist down, but electronic implants mean she can stand at the touch of a button.
She really is the source of the world expertise on this particular topic.
Could she be the world's first bionic woman?
I'd love to leave footprints in the snow.
QED investigates, next Tuesday 9:30 on BBC One.
We're running about 10 minutes later than advertised tonight on BBC One because of the earlier live football coverage. So the second of our movie thrillers, The Mind of a Killer, will now be at just before 25 past midnight.